everyone, Pam Gregory, astrologer. I'm going to be speaking to you today about the first half of April and the new moon that we have coming up in Aries. And the energy really this month is going to be very fast because Aries is always a fast moving sign. It's very quick, ruled by Mars. And also because all of the planets are still moving direct until the 29th of the month when Pluto moves retrograde. So that always gives a feeling when all of the planets are moving direct of speed and momentum. So this new moon actually begins very early in the month. It's at 11 degrees 30 minutes of Aries. It actually happens on the very last day of March, 31st of March at 11:24 p.m. Pacific. And then the next day it happens at 6:24 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, Universal Time. And so because this is the first new moon within our astrological new year, i.e. after the Aries equinox, and it's also in the sign of Aries, the first sign in the zodiac, this is very much a new beginning, very much a great time to plant a new seed for whatever you want to manifest in your life. So see where 11 degrees 30 minutes of Aries falls in your chart. If you don't know, you can download a free birth chart from my website, go to the link below, and you can purchase a 2-part tutorial video teaching series where you will find step by step from zero exactly how you find these points in your chart and what it means for you with every update I do. So we're shifting really from Pisces season, although we've still got very strong Pisces energy. I'll be coming on to gradually into Aries season. So at this new moon, the sun and moon are always together at a new moon, and they are very closely conjunct to Chiron. Chiron is at 12:38 of Aries. Now, this may suggest that there's some new stage of recovery in the pandemic we've been experiencing, or there may be some treatment coming out that can help us as well, can manifest in that way. But it's very interesting with Chiron because part of the symbolism of Chiron is actually feeling like we are the outsider. If you have strong Chiron transits where you've been dealt an injustice or bullied in some way, you feel excluded from society, you feel like the outsider. And so this may be playing in to this new moon, and I think it is, as we go through this update I have for you, I think feeling like not part of the mainstream could be strengthened at this time. So it's a little like Eros, it's a little like Uranus in that way. That's one particular expression of Chiron. So we also have a lot of initiatory energy here. We've got Sun, the Moon, Mercury and Eris, sister of Mars, warrior energy, all in the sign of Aries. This is a fantastic time to launch something, to launch a new project. If it's falling, say, in your 5th house, this could be a new creative project or a project for children. It's falling in your 10th house, this is something to do with your work that you're launching. So some new initiative, fantastic for that. Yes, it can be quite warlike energy, quite warrior-like energy. So it's down to us to stay in peace, just constantly. Be aware that we are in peace. We're beaming out peace to the world. That's really important at these hot, volatile, combustible times. So let me share with you the chart for this new moon. So here we go. As always, I set this for UK time because that's where I live. So ignore the clock face, ignore the houses, simply look at where the planets are falling and the aspects between them. So, as I say, fantastic launch energy, initiatory energy, and a great time to kind of go solo, be a pioneer with something, really start something new in a big way, because it's very interesting that in time, this new moon in Aries, again, the first sign of the zodiac, to remind you, is falling really equidistant between the Aries equinox on the 20th of March, which is so powerful this year. I'm actually filming this on the 20th of March, massive waves of evolutionary energy are coming in. I mean, it's just extraordinary. But also to the other side, we have the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in Pisces that's so important on the 12th of April. So this new moon is, I think, very positively at the midpoint in time of both of those. I'm going to be talking more about the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction in a moment, but that is happening on the 12th of April, and it's going to be happening at 23 degrees 58 minutes of Pisces, so almost 24 degrees of Pisces. So if you have anything particularly at 23 to 25 degrees, particularly if it's your sun, your moon, your ascendant, you could really be feeling this incredible uplift in consciousness that we're going through at the moment. It really is a step change for us. But also if you have those degrees 23 to 25 of Cancer or Scorpio, you could well be benefiting from this. I mean, all of us are going to benefit from this, no doubt. All of us, correction, that are on some kind of a spiritual path are going to benefit from this, because it is such a massive kind of big wave carrying us higher up the beach than we've ever been before. So tune into it. I'm going to be talking more about this in just a moment. And this only happens once every 166 years in Pisces. And therefore, this new moon, first new moon of the new astrological year, isn't just same old as we get every single year, new moon in Aries. It is within a much bigger context of a shift in consciousness. And I think that's super, super important. So I've talked about the sun and moon being conjunct Chiron here. Also, we have Mercury at 9 degrees of Aries. Now, what I haven't put in here, because it's a bit crowded in that area of the chart, is at 7 degrees of Aries, we have the dwarf planet Salacia. Now, Salacia is mermaid energy. She's very linked to the kind of iridescent, sparkling moonlight and sunlight on the sea. I believe she's actually what's known as liquid light. It's a state of plasma known as liquid light, superfluid. And this again is a promise of a higher state of being, but a higher state of mental processing in some way, because with all the astrology we've been doing up to now, Mercury is very much seen as the lower mind, you know, our day-to-day activities, shopping lists, neighbors, friends, etc. Uranus is the higher mind, but here Salacia is bringing in the promise of something very different, something quantum, so that we're moving away from the logical, the analytical, the day-to-day. And when we get to a quantum mental process, this is where we really become adept at setting clear intentions, having focus, and manifesting much more effortlessly than we've ever done before. Now, tomorrow on the 21st of March, I'm going to be interviewing Kelly Hunter, the US astrologer that's done a huge amount of research on these Kuiper belt objects. So I'm very excited about that. And she's actually going to be discussing this new moon in Aries in the context of the Kuiper belt object. So that is going to be out within a few days, 22nd, 23rd of March, hopefully. And I hope you really enjoy that, because that's where we're headed in terms of the next evolution of consciousness. You'll also note here that Mars at 19 of Aquarius is square to Uranus, almost at 13 degrees of Taurus. These are both in fixed signs. And I've talked a great deal about hard aspects between Mars and Uranus. They can have a very eruptive, explosive, volcanic effect, earthquakes, etc. Yes, that can be the case. This is also linked to building new social structures. Aquarius is very linked to our social networks, and Saturn being there too is linked to social structures. Individually, this can be very fiery. It can be very impulsive, and it can be big, clear, revolutionary demands for freedom. Freedom of speech, Aquarius is linked to the internet, freedom from censorship. There can be quite a lot of rebellion, revolt, pushback in that square to Uranus in order to retain our freedoms and freedoms of speech. And I'm sure you're aware there's a lot going on in that direction at the moment. Now, what is also interesting here, and it becomes really much tighter on the 4th and 5th of April, that I'm going to be moving on to in a moment, Saturn, 22 of Aquarius, is actually square to the nodal axis. There's the North Node at 24 of Taurus, and South Node, not normally shown in a chart, always opposite 24 of Scorpio. Very much a time of letting go of toxicity and sexual, financial crimes coming to light, that South Node in Scorpio. So as I say, this is square to the nodal axis. The North Node is our future collective destiny. And this can manifest as greater attempted control, again, linked to freedoms, etc. So we'll have to be very aware of how that's working. And in fact, Mars also comes to square that nodal axis on the 4th and 5th of April. And we have to be very aware of, we can use this in a launching way, initiating something, but as I say, stay in peace, because this is warrior energy. And actually, 4th and 5th of April is where this conjunction here of Mars and Saturn becomes exact, at 22 of Aquarius. And so that is actually a difficult aspect. It's quite militaristic. It's about, it can be about a kind of forced control, Mars control, Saturn, of our freedoms, hence the militaristic side. I see these hard aspects between Mars and Saturn many, many times with people who go into the military in some capacity, because it's about pushing yourself to the limit and beyond. I actually have a hard Mars-Saturn aspect in my chart. It's an opposition, and it's excellent for goal setting. It can give you tremendous discipline, but yet pushing yourself to and beyond your limits, and I'm probably guilty of that. So this is very strong around the 4th and 5th particularly. It's strong at this new moon. It's even stronger around the 4th and 5th. And we had this conjunction in March 2020. Then it was happening in Capricorn. That was the beginning of the lockdowns, you may remember, very fierce lockdowns. So forced controls on our freedom. Here it's in Aquarius. It was previously in Aquarius, some very important times in history, 1962, the Cuban Missile Crisis, where people felt we were very close to some kind of Third World War. And in 1934, when Hitler came to power in Germany as the Führer, again, that wasn't a very light time for the world. So we have to be aware of that and do everything we can to stay in peace, to stay in love, not to up the ante, as it were, by fueling that with any kind of anger or fear. Even Mars-Saturn can be fear as well, kind of frozen aggression, if you like, Saturn-Mars. Now, it's so interesting to me, but as I say, it is excellent for disciplined focus. It's just, you know, I've lived with that all my life. It is superlative at disciplined focus for you as an individual. Now, oddly, this is happening just a week before that beautiful, one of the most beautiful aspects of the year, the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. And so this really comes down to something I was talking about in a recent video just called Thoughts in March 2022, where I was talking about, you know, what is your worldview? Because that becomes your filter for everything that happens in the world. And if your worldview is, you know, the world is a really big, scary place where lots of dangerous things happen, then you will be very much living out that Mars-Saturn in quite a testing, challenging way. But if your worldview is that the world is an intelligent, conscious, evolving, conscious being, then organic, then we are going to see this period in April very differently, because our focus is going to be turned much more to the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction happening exactly on the 12th of April. And as I say, remember, this only happens in Pisces once every 166 years. So everything we're seeing in detail, this new moon, etc., in April is within this bigger context. We are going up an octave spiritually. We are going up an octave spiritually. So let me talk a little more about that. Now, some of you may have seen, I actually put out a video on the 3rd of January this year, because I knew that we were going to be feeling this Jupiter-Neptune energy really almost right from the beginning of the year. So I put that link below and you can see what I was saying there again. But just to sort of share with you the more difficult aspects of this, I mentioned that we were very likely to see a significant increase in the oil prices, in the oil price, because Neptune represents oil and Jupiter is expansion. So the oil price goes up and it's well over $100 a barrel now. So I was saying that that is very likely to put up the price of fuel and any goods distributed anywhere, food, white goods, whatever. And that is very likely to lead to inflation. And I understand at the moment we have a kind of a 40-year high and beyond with inflation right now. So that has certainly manifested. I believe in that video I also mentioned that this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction, which we can see is very, very close, it's within 2 degrees, and it gets exactly to 2358, as I say, on the 12th of April, can be to do with a big wave of the dispossessed, a big wave of the victimized, refugees. And again, we have a wave of tragically, Ukrainian refugees coming to find safety further west. Neptune is lord of the sea. And particularly when it's in Pisces, this can bring up issues around water. In many ways, we've seen major flooding in Eastern Australia, terrible flooding. It can bring up issues around toxicity with water, because that's linked to Neptune as well. We can, on the difficult side, we can see quite a big increase in the hypnosis, the psychosis, the delusion, the deceits, with certain groups in society. Neptune is also linked to the media, to pharmaceutical products, so all of that could enlarge as well. So, but on the positive side, this could be a mass unveiling. This could be a mass unveiling at this time. And this is so important for us in terms of where we're headed as humanity. So I'll just stop sharing here. Whatever we're feeling at the time, and we're well into this Jupiter-Neptune energy already, our emotions will be magnified. So if we are feeling fearful, panicky, angry, hateful, they will be magnified. Jupiter will expand the emotion, all that Pisces sensitivity. However, if we're feeling in joy, in peace, in gratitude, those emotions will be magnified, which is why I believe in every cell of my body that we are going to see a much clearer definition of the fork in the road that we currently have in society. I'm sure you all understand what I mean by this. We are going to see a clearer definition and a clearer divergence of that fork in the road. I've described the difficult sides of Jupiter-Neptune, but on the positive side, my word, I mean, that's why April, we can go from anything which is warlike to the divine, to the sublime. This is about bliss. This is about transcendence. I almost lose vocabulary here because it's so fine and so beautiful. It's your deep desire to connect to the divine. Our hearts are going to be expanding rapidly at this time. We may even feel growing pains in our hearts. Our chakras are being activated. And we have a much greater sense of infinite possibilities than we've ever had before. And this will give many of us an unbounded sense of self. Unbounded sense of self. That's what I want to say. And it will help us really get in touch with a spiritual future, spiritual Neptune, Jupiter future, a much stronger sense of spiritual future than we have ever had before. And I'm obviously living in the UK, and that isn't sort of celebrated for its brilliant weather necessarily at this time of year. The light today is absolutely extraordinary. And I'm sure many of you in various parts of the world are feeling this and seeing this. It's like nothing I've seen before. It's white, it's bright, it's kind of shimmering, it's diamondy. I just want to keep sitting and just looking at the light, just surrendering to the new information that photonic light and energy is bringing, because I know it's bringing new information. I feel my crown chakra buzzing up in my heart, kind of, expanding. This is a special, powerful, powerful time of the invisible. So we can either put our focus on what is very tangible and known and scary, or we can say, I'm going to trust the unstoppable physics of light, because that's going to lead me to a way better place. And you might even, your dreams are going to become very likely much more active, long, vivid at this time. Keep a dream journal. Your telepathy, your natural healing ability, your telepathy with animals. And, a nice exercise to do at this time is almost just to imagine, just kind of close your eyes, and in this incredible light, just imagine the structures and people and elements of your life just dissolving, just for now, just dissolving. And then very gradually just see what's starting to form in your new spiritual future. What people, what opportunities, what synchronicities, what's starting to come in for this higher octave of humanity's consciousness. It's just extraordinary. I just, as I say, lose words. So really maximize this opportunity, because this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction we won't have for another 166 years. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. It's one of the most beautiful aspects we have this year. It will wash away a lot of the old structures, and for many people it will wash away a lot of the old toxicity, things which haven't resonated as truth, let us say. So decide which expression of Jupiter-Neptune you want, because ultimately nobody is forcing us down one fork of the road or the other. It's down to our own free will. So I hope that's helped you. A lot of very complex and fast-moving energies happening here. I think April is going to be absolutely jam-packed, and then we start to move into eclipse season and all the intensity that brings. But certainly things are moving and changing, which I think is very positive. So God bless. I hope that's helped you. Have a wonderful new moon in Aries on the 1st of the month. Don't forget to set your new intention, and thanks so much for listening. If you want more information about my books, my teaching videos, my long monthly newsletter, just check out my website, pamgregory.com. Bye for now.